Hi. So, what has been the performance of your stock portfolio in 2019 or 2018 for that matter? Well, the answer to this question would depend on the kind of stocks you invested in. So, if your portfolio had a large cap bias or you were predominantly invested in blue chips in 2018 and 19, there's a very strong chance that you would have done well in these 2 years combined. The Sensex, after all, was up more than 20% in 18-19 combined. And if you had a portfolio with a predominantly large cap bias, you would have achieved similar results or maybe even better. On the other hand, if your portfolio was made up of mostly small and mid cap stocks and had mostly a small cap bias, your performance would have been a tad disappointing. This is because 2018 and 19 saw the small cap index plunge around 30% these 2 years combined. And it was not uncommon to find stocks that were down 30, 40, 50, even 60%. So there's very strong chance that a portfolio with a small cap bias would have bled or would have been down significantly in 2018 and 19. I'm sure you would be thinking that why did I not take a bigger exposure to large caps, or why did I not invest in large caps in 2018 and 19? You would even be cursing your luck. But I believe that's all in the past. We'll have to let bygones be bygones. There's very little that one can do about it. What you can try and ensure is that you do not commit a similar mistake going forward. And one of the most effective ways to do this is practicing what I believe deep and complex thinking. Now, there are two kinds of thinking. One kind of thinking is simple and superficial, and another is deep and complex. As far as the stock markets are concerned, I think the simple and superficial thinking is pretty much useless. It gets you nowhere. And you should try and practice as much deep and complex thinking as possible when it comes to the stock market. Now, what I mean by this, if you take the performance of the two indices as an example, a person with a simple and superficial thinking and someone who'd invested in large caps in 2017 and he stayed invested in 2018 and 19, he would think that 2018 and 19 have given me fantastic returns in large caps, so let me stick with large caps. Because 2020 also they'll give you great returns because 18 and 19 have been good. Now that's a simple and superficial thinking in my view. A deep and complex thinker, a smart investor, would have thought that okay, 18 and 19 large caps have done well, the valuations have gone up, which means that they have become overvalued, and the possibility of them outperforming in 2020 is now lower than what it was in 18 and 19. Therefore, it may not be a bad idea to move some money out of large caps into another asset class. That's deep and complex thinking and the right way to approach investing from my perspective. Similarly, someone who invested in small caps in 2018 and 19 would think that my results have been disastrous. My wealth destruction has been huge, and therefore, after the wealth destruction of 2018 and 19, I no longer want to stay invested in small caps and I'll move to large caps. Now, that's again simple and superficial thinking in my point of view, because the very fact that small caps have gone down means that they have now become attractive, and there's every chance that they will rebound and do well in 2020 and 21. Therefore, a smart investor or a deep and complex thinker would actually increase his exposure to small caps and not reduce his exposure to small caps. So this is deep and complex thinking where you're taking decision based on the valuation and the relative underperformance outperformance of the two indices. You're not taking a decision based on what the asset class has done recently in the past 1 or 2 years. That's simple and superficial investing. That's not going to work. What's going to work is relative underperformance and outperformance and valuations. So with the large caps relatively outperforming in 2018 and 19 means that they are now going to underperform. They have run up more than the small caps, and therefore they may fall in 2020 and 21, or may not perform as well as the small cap index, small cap stocks, and therefore a good strategy would be to reduce allocation to large caps and increase allocation to small caps. Now, of course, there's a lot of data that you can use to fine tune your strategy and to invest in the right stocks at the right valuations and take the right exposure. But this kind of thinking, deep and complex thinking, will often get you in the right asset class at the right time, and I think will certainly help you be on the right side of trades more often than not. So when it comes to the stock market, my simple suggestion would be to practice as much deep and complex thinking as possible, and not get involved in simple and superficial thinking. That's going to be counterproductive from a long-term point of view, as far as my opinion on the stock market is concerned. So be a deep thinker, be a complex thinker, and this quality will serve you for a very long time to come. Thank you. Also, do not forget to sign up for Profit Hunter, our free email newsletter, and get access to this latest guide on picking market crushing stocks.